If this video appeared before your eyes, stop scrolling, because this is not entertainment. This is a transmission, and it found you not by luck, not by chance, but because the field itself detected that your light has been targeted. You have felt it, haven't you? That sudden wave of fatigue when you enter certain spaces, that unexplained heaviness that follows you after speaking with certain people, that strange shrinking of your energy when envy, judgment, and silent hostility are directed at you. This is not your imagination. It is the invisible war that every awakened soul must eventually face. The friction between a frequency that is rising and the dense human patterns that are terrified of that rise. The Atlanteans knew this. Long before modern science spoke of electromagnetic fields and coherence, they trained their initiates to build an invisible shield, a living membrane of consciousness that filters intention, reflects projection, and transmutes every attempt to drain them into fuel for their evolution. They called it the Shield of Light, and once activated, it made the soul untouchable. This is what you are here for. Not to hide, not to become harder, but to remember the forgotten architecture of protection that already exists within you. Because the truth is this: no curse, no envy, no projection can pierce a field that knows its own power. And the very fact that you're hearing these words means the time has come to awaken that power. In this transmission, you will remember why certain energies seem to cling to you and how to dissolve them without fighting. You will understand the mechanics of human envy and how intention behaves like a frequency. You will learn the ancient Atlantean method to seal your auric field and how to build a mirror layer so that anything sent against you returns to its source as a teacher, not a wound. And most importantly, you will reclaim the authority over your space, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, so that nothing can enter without your permission. So breathe deeply. This is not another lesson. This is an initiation into sovereignty. And by the end of this transmission, you will no longer ask, "How do I protect myself?" Because you will be the protection. Anchor this truth into the field now by declaring in the comments below, "I activate the Atlantean Shield. My energy is sovereign." Your initiation begins now. Chapter 1: The Anatomy of Human Darkness. Before you can protect your field, you must understand what you are protecting it from. Most people think envy is just an emotion, a passing thought, a quiet resentment. But in truth, it is a frequency, and one of the most corrosive forces that the human heart can project. It is ancient, primal, and deeply magnetic. And if left unrecognized, it can latch onto your field like a parasite and begin to rewrite the energy that surrounds you. The Atlanteans called it the shadow current, a low-frequency wave born not from hatred, but from disconnection. Envy is not hatred of you. It is grief for the parts of themselves others abandoned long ago. When they look at your light, they are forced to feel the places where they dimmed theirs. When they see your authenticity, they confront their own masks, and instead of facing that pain, many unconsciously project it outward, sending thought forms, judgments, and energetic cords toward the very thing that mirrors what they lost. Modern physics has proven that intention carries measurable electromagnetic signatures. Thoughts are not just thoughts, they are waves. Emotions are not invisible, they are charge. When someone envies you, their subconscious emits a field of disruptive coherence that seeks a frequency to feed on. If your field is scattered, leaking or vibrating in self-doubt, that wave finds resonance and attaches. It does not need permission. It does not need words. It simply needs an opening. The Atlantean temples trained initiates to see this. They were taught that the world is saturated with unconscious frequencies, and that envy is often the most subtle and the most destructive. It rarely announces itself with obvious hostility. It comes disguised as casual comments, distant silence, forced smiles. It travels through glances, whispers, algorithms, even attention itself. Wherever energy flows, intention rides. But here is the truth they also taught. No frequency can enter a field that is whole. Envy only feeds where there is hunger. It only sticks where there is a wound. And that means it has no power unless you give it one. Your first act of protection is not a ritual. It is awareness. Awareness that most of the negativity you feel is not personal. It is the world's forgotten parts trying to find fuel. So when the weight enters the room, do not shrink. When the glance cuts like a blade, do not fear. Recognize it as a current. And remember. Chapter 2. The Science of Energy Shields. The ancients spoke of light. Modern science speaks of fields. But they are the same thing. Around your physical body, there is an electromagnetic field, measurable, real, and dynamic, that extends meters beyond your skin. It is shaped by your thoughts, sculpted by your emotions, and tuned by your state of consciousness. This is not metaphor. It is biology and physics woven together. Your heart alone generates a magnetic field thousands of times stronger than your brain. And that field is not static. It expands and contracts according to your internal state. When you feel fear, the field becomes erratic and porous. When you feel love, gratitude, or clarity, it becomes coherent and resilient. This is why ancient initiates said that the temple walls are built from the heart. Your shield is not something you build outside of you. It is something you radiate from within. The Atlanteans understood that protection was not about walls, but about frequency architecture. A chaotic frequency invites entanglement. A stable frequency repels incoherence. Imagine two tuning forks, one vibrating with a pure tone, the other irregular and weak. They cannot resonate. The weaker vibration simply bounces off. In the same way, when your field is aligned, when thought, breath, and emotion are coherent, envy, judgment, and negativity cannot find purchase. They glance off and dissolve, but coherence is not passive. It must be cultivated. Every breath you take in awareness strengthens the field. Every time you refuse to dwell in resentment, you raise its frequency. Every choice to respond instead of react tightens the weave. Over time, this becomes more than a defense. It becomes a membrane of intelligence capable of filtering what enters and what does not. The Atlantean temples taught a practice called the inner fortress. Initiates were trained to anchor their breath into the heart, visualize their field as a sphere of golden blue light, and feel it pulsing outward with each heartbeat, not as a wall of fear, but as a statement of sovereignty. Modern studies on bioelectromagnetism echo this. Intention and visualization measurably affect the shape and strength of the field. You do not need to fight energy. You need only master your own, because the moment your field stabilizes, external interference becomes impossible. It is not blocked. It is transmuted on contact. Anchor this science of sovereignty by declaring in the comments, "My field is coherent. My shield is active," because the shield is not a thing you summon, it is who you become. Chapter 3. The Mirror Law. How to reflect what's sent to you. The Atlanteans taught that there are only two ways to deal with darkness. You can absorb it and let it distort you, or you can mirror it and let it teach the sender who they truly are. The second is the path of the shielded soul. It is the law of reflection, the sacred principle that turns every attack into a revelation, every projection into a return, and every attempt to harm into a boomerang of awakening. To understand this law, imagine two surfaces. One is porous. It soaks up everything around it. The other is polished. It reflects everything back unchanged. Most people live as the first. They absorb judgment and mistake it for truth. They internalize envy and feel unworthy. They take on other people's projections as if they were their own. And in doing so, they They allow foreign frequencies to rewrite their reality from the inside out. But the Atlantean initiates trained to become mirrors. They understood that energy can only enter your system if you identify with it. If someone calls you weak and you believe it, that frequency anchors into your field. But if someone calls you weak and you know you are strong, the energy cannot find resonance. And so it returns to its source, carrying with it the imprint of the sender's own intention. This is not revenge. This is resonance physics. Modern science calls this phenomenon phase incompatibility. When two waveforms vibrate at incompatible frequencies, they do not merge, they reflect. The higher frequency remains unchanged, while the lower one bounces back to where it originated. This is the same mechanism that allows a mirror to reflect light instead of absorbing it. Your energy field behaves no differently. This is why mastering your self-perception is the core of protection. The more clearly you know who you are, the less you absorb what you are not. The moment you stop identifying with the projections of others, they lose all power over you. Their energy returns home, often with greater force, not as punishment, but as a lesson they cannot ignore. The Atlanteans describe this shield not as a wall, but as a living mirror, a luminous membrane that surrounds the initiate and reflects every foreign intention back as neutral information. To them, it was an act of compassion. May they meet themselves in the energy they tried to give me. And so, even envy becomes medicine. From this moment forward, do not absorb, reflect, do not defend, radiate, do not carry their projections, show them who they are by remaining who you are. Anchor this principle now by declaring in the comments, I reflect what is not mine. I remain untouched, because once the mirror is polished, nothing can stain it, and nothing can pass through it. Chapter 4. The Art of Sealing Your Aura. The most dangerous attacks are rarely the ones that come with obvious malice. They are the subtle ones, the silent opinions, the unconscious envy, the unspoken judgments that slip through the cracks in your field when you aren't aware they exist. And that is why the Atlanteans taught, before you learn to repel energy, you must learn to seal your aura. Because an open field is like a house with unlocked doors. Light will still shine inside, but anything wandering nearby can also walk right in. Your aura, the luminous extension of your electromagnetic field, is not static. It expands and contracts with your state of consciousness. When you feel joy, gratitude, and clarity, it becomes smooth, spherical, and impenetrable. But when you are exhausted, resentful, fearful, or craving validation, tiny fissures appear in the field. Those microfractures act as entry points where other people's thoughts, projections, or energetic cords can attach themselves and siphon your vitality. The Atlantean initiates referred to these leaks as soul apertures, and they understood that most of them are self-inflicted, created not by external forces, but by internal states like self-doubt, guilt, shame, or unresolved trauma. Wherever you are leaking energy inward, you are also leaving a doorway open outward. The first act of sealing, therefore, is not a ritual. It is awareness. You must locate the places where you are giving yourself away. Begin each day by scanning your field. Close your eyes, breathe slowly into your heart, and imagine your energy body surrounding you like a sphere of liquid light. Ask yourself, where am I leaking? Where am I still seeking validation, replaying old wounds, or clinging to resentment? As each answer surfaces, visualize that point of the sphere closing, not with force but with sovereign intention. The Atlanteans believed intention was the highest form of technology, capable of repatterning energy instantly when anchored in awareness. Modern science supports this. Studies on biofield coherence show that visualization, breath, and intention can measurably tighten and stabilize the electromagnetic field. It's not fantasy. It's neuroelectrical engineering of your own energy system. Once sealed, Your aura functions like a living membrane, allowing light, love, and information to flow freely, but rejecting anything incoherent. It becomes selective, intelligent, and self-regulating. And when that membrane is intact, envy cannot hook into you. Judgment cannot penetrate. Other people's pain can approach, but it cannot enter. Remember, power leaks happen wherever attention leaks. Every time you obsess over what others think, you open a door. Every time you replay an argument, you create a crack. Every time you betray your intuition to be liked, you weaken the shield. But every time you choose self-respect, every time you breathe consciously, every time you speak boundaries aloud, you reinforce the armor. Anchor this new level of protection by declaring in the comments, "My aura is sealed. My field is sovereign." Because a sealed field is not just protection, it is permission for your light to expand without fear of being stolen. Chapter 5. Energetic Parasites. How Envy Feeds on Attention. Every form of darkness needs one thing to survive: attention. Without it, it withers. Without it, it dissolves. Without it, it cannot anchor into the fabric of your reality. And this is the reason most people unconsciously feed the very energies they wish to repel. They obsess over what others think, replay words that hurt them, or stalk those who envy them, all of which act as invisible offerings to the parasite. The Atlanteans had a word for this phenomenon: energetic symbiosis. It is the subtle exchange where a fragment of your awareness becomes the fuel for someone else's projection. It begins with something small, a comment that lingers in your mind, a look that unsettles you, a post that triggers self-comparison. You think about it, you give it energy, and in that moment a cord forms, a fine thread-like tether between their frequency and yours. The more you think about them, the thicker the cord becomes. The more you feel anger, resentment, or the need to prove yourself, the deeper the cord burrows into your field. This is why envy feels exhausting, because it is. It's not metaphorical. Your bioelectrical system is literally losing charge to a foreign network, and as long as your attention flows toward it, the siphon remains open. The Atlantean priests warned initiates of the most dangerous trap on the path of awakening, believing that they needed to fight negativity. Fighting is just another form of attention. Hatred is still a form of connection. Even righteous anger binds you to the frequency you're trying to escape. The secret is not resistance, it is starvation. Starve the parasite by withdrawing awareness. Stop replaying their words. Stop checking if they're watching you. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop trying to win against envy. Because the moment you stop feeding it, it has nothing left to eat. Modern psychology echoes this ancient truth. Attention is the currency of consciousness. Where attention goes, energy flows. This is not poetic language, it's neurobiology. Your brain devotes glucose, electricity, and neural firing patterns to whatever you focus on. That is why cutting cords is not about burning sage or chanting mantras. It's about reclaiming ownership of your most sacred resource: what you choose to notice. The Atlanteans practiced something called the golden gaze and a discipline of conscious disengagement. They would visualize their attention as a beam of light, then gently pull it back from anything that drained them. Once reclaimed, they would direct it inward, to breath, to heart, to purpose, until the external hook dissolved. So here is your practice. When envy tries to enter through comparison, when negativity tries to distract you, when judgment tries to steal your peace, simply turn away, as not in denial but in sovereignty. Every time you do, the cord weakens. Every time you do, your energy returns. Anchor this power into the field now by declaring in the comments, "My attention is sacred. I feed only what empowers me." Because parasites cannot survive without a host, and the moment you stop nourishing them, they cease to exist. Chapter 6. The Golden Mirror Field. Transmuting envy into power. There is a level of protection beyond defense. It is the realm where nothing external can harm you, because everything sent your way becomes fuel. The Atlanteans called this state the Golden Mirror Field. An alchemical shield so refined that even envy, judgment, and hatred are transmuted into power the moment they touch it. To understand this, you must remember a fundamental law of energy. Nothing is inherently negative or positive. It is only frequency waiting for direction. An attack is just raw energy in chaotic form. A judgment is just potential wrapped in distortion. If your field meets it with resistance, it becomes poison. But if your field meets it with mastery, it becomes nourishment. The Golden Mirror Field operates on resonance, not rejection. Imagine a beam of darkness striking a field of gold. The gold does not fear the darkness, it recalibrates it. It absorbs the raw energy, strips it of intention, and re-emits it as light. This is the principle of vibrational transmutation, and it is as real as any physical law. Modern science knows that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. The Atlanteans understood that consciousness is the laboratory where that transformation occurs. When someone sends envy toward you, they are unconsciously sending you power, a surge of attention, intention, and emotion. Most people waste that surge by absorbing the negativity or fighting it. But the adept redirects it. They receive it as raw current, strip it of all meaning, and recycle it into their own system as fuel for expansion. This is not metaphorical. Ancient practices like prana redirection, chi absorption, and aura conversion were built around this principle. Here is how you begin. When you feel a wave of density approaching, the heaviness in the room, the glance that feels sharp, the sudden fatigue after someone's words, do not contract, expand. Visualize your field as molten gold, glowing and radiant. See the energy entering it and dissolving, like smoke consumed by fire. Feel it spiral into your solar plexus, the seat of will, and transform into strength, clarity, vitality. You are not blocking. You are alchemy in motion. The Atlanteans taught that the highest mastery is not isolation from the world, but integration with it. The ability to walk through shadows and emerge brighter. When you embody the Golden Mirror Field, no attack is wasted. Every projection becomes propulsion. Every attempt to drain you becomes a recharge. From this moment on, stop asking, "How do I avoid negativity?" and start declaring, "Every energy sent toward me becomes power." Because in the Atlantean temples, the most feared initiates were not the ones who fought darkness, but the ones who fed on it and turned it into light. Anchor this transformation into the field by declaring in the comments, "I transmute all energy into power. Nothing sent against me is wasted." Because the moment you embody this truth, nothing is ever truly against you again. It is all fuel for your ascension. Chapter 7. The Architecture of Boundaries. There is no true protection without boundaries. Not the brittle kind built from fear, but the living, intelligent kind forged from sovereignty. The Atlanteans taught that boundaries were not walls to keep the world out. They were structures of permission, sacred architectures that defined what was allowed to enter your field and what was not. And until you master them, even the strongest shield will eventually be compromised. Most people misunderstand boundaries. They think of them as acts of rejection. "Stay away from me. I don't want you near my energy. I have to protect myself from you." But this mindset still centers the other. It gives them power over your space. A true Atlantean boundary does not say no to others. It says yes to your own frequency first. It does not push energy away. It simply becomes impenetrable to anything misaligned. Here's the truth. Your field is always listening to your choices. Every time you tolerate disrespect, it weakens. Every time you say yes when your body says no, it thins. Every time you betray your intuition to maintain harmony, it becomes porous. But every time you speak your truth, even softly, your field fortifies. Every time you honor your own rhythm, it strengthens. Every time you walk away from what drains you, it becomes more radiant. Boundaries are not external fences. They are vibrational signatures encoded into the fabric of your aura. The Atlantean priests practiced what they called the sovereign seal, a daily ritual of boundary encoding. At dawn and dusk, initiates would stand barefoot on the earth, breathe into the heart, and speak aloud their non-negotiables. Only love enters my field. Only truth resonates in my space. Only frequencies aligned with my purpose may remain. Over time, these declarations were not mere words. They became commands embedded in their electromagnetic field. And the field, being intelligent, obeyed. Modern neuroscience confirms this principle. Repeated intention shapes the brain's neural pathways and, by extension, the electromagnetic patterns that radiate from it. This means that every time you assert a boundary with conviction, you are literally sculpting the shape of your energy field. Boundaries are not about isolation, they are about precision. They allow you to walk into the densest environments and remain untouched. They enable you to connect with others deeply, without losing yourself. They make your energy so defined that anything incompatible simply cannot stay. So from this day on, stop apologizing for your boundaries. They are not selfish, they are sacred geometry. And the clearer you become about what you will and will not allow, the stronger your Atlantean shield grows. Anchor this sovereignty now by declaring in the comments, "My boundaries are sacred." My energy is non-negotiable, because when boundaries stop being defenses and become declarations, nothing enters your field unless it is meant to be there. Chapter 8. Breaking the Lineage of Ancestral Envy. Not all the energies you carry are yours. Some of them were never yours to begin with. They were passed down through generations, absorbed in the womb, encoded in childhood, inherited from lineages that never learned how to protect their own light. This is the most hidden source of vulnerability in your field, ancestral envy, the collective residue of jealousy, betrayal, scarcity, fear, and self-comparison that has been echoing through bloodlines for centuries. The Atlanteans understood that energy is not bound by time. They taught that memory is not only stored in the mind, it is woven into the field. Just as genetic traits can be inherited, so too can vibrational patterns. If a grandmother was hated for shining too brightly, that fear of visibility can still hum in the aura of her descendants. If a lineage survived by staying small and unnoticed, the body might instinctively dim its light as a survival mechanism, even generations later. Modern epigenetics is only beginning to catch up to what the ancient initiates already knew. Emotional patterns and energetic responses can imprint themselves onto DNA expression, shaping behavior and sensitivity without a word ever being spoken. That is why you might feel resistance to being seen, even if you have no personal reason to fear it. Why you might shrink in the presence of envy, even if you know it cannot harm you. These are not your fears, they are echoes of those who came before you. The Atlantean temples treated ancestral envy as a sacred initiation, not a curse to be feared, but a story to be rewritten. The first step was recognition. To stand before the altar of remembrance and say, "This is not mine." To witness the envy, the shame, the fear of shining, and understand that they are old ghosts, fragments of other lives still vibrating within your field. The second step was release. They practiced rituals of lineage liberation, visualizing a golden blade severing energetic cords stretching back through time. With each breath they would affirm, I honor the lessons of those who came before, but I no longer carry their burdens. And slowly, the old resonance dissolved, making space for a new frequency to emerge. You can do the same. When envy arises, pause and ask, is this mine? When fear of being seen appears, ask, whose voice is this? If it feels ancient, heavy, older than you, it probably is. Speak aloud. I send this pattern back to where it belongs with love and gratitude, but it will not live in my field. The moment you reclaim authorship of your energy, ancestral frequencies lose their hold. The Atlanteans believe that when one soul breaks a lineage pattern, the entire bloodline shifts. Your healing becomes their liberation. Your sovereignty becomes their redemption. And your shield becomes the strongest gift you could ever offer those who came before. Anchor this liberation into the field by declaring in the comments, Chapter 9, The Observer's Throne, Detachment as Ultimate Protection. There is a level of protection higher than mirrors, stronger than seals, deeper than any boundary. It is the state in which nothing can touch you, because nothing can reach you. The Atlanteans called this state the Observer's Throne, the inner position of consciousness from which all energy is seen, but none of it is owned. It is not about hiding from the world. It is about rising so high in awareness that nothing external can define you, disturb you, or determine who you are. Here's the ultimate secret of spiritual protection. What you observe, you transcend, and but what you identify with, you become. Most people suffer not because they are attacked, but because they merge with the attack. They believe the projection. They internalize the envy. They accept the judgment as truth, and in doing so, they descend from their throne and step into the battlefield, where they bleed energy trying to fight what never deserved their attention in the first place. The observer's throne is the opposite of that. It is the art of remaining above. It is the consciousness that watches envy approach and simply says, there it is, a frequency not mine. It is the awareness that witnesses a harsh word and responds, that is their vibration, not my reflection. It is the posture of sovereignty that sees the storm raging and remembers that the sky is untouched. Modern neuroscience mirrors this principle in what is called meta-awareness, the ability of the human mind to observe its own thoughts and emotions without attachment. When this state is activated, the nervous system shifts out of reactivity and into regulation. The electromagnetic field becomes stable, the aura remains intact, and external frequencies, no matter how charged, fail to resonate. The Atlantean initiates trained for years to master this. They would sit in the center of temples, while voices of criticism echoed around them. They would stand in marketplaces and allow others to project envy or admiration. But they did not absorb either. Praise and hatred were the same. Both were noise beneath the throne. They knew that when you no longer need validation, manipulation loses its power. When you no longer crave approval, rejection loses its sting. And when you no longer internalize what others send, nothing they send can enter you. This is not detachment born of apathy. It is detachment born of mastery. It is the state where love can flow freely without fear of being drained, where compassion can exist without the weight of carrying others, where you can walk among chaos and remain the eye of the storm. Your greatest shield is not around you, it is the consciousness within you. Sit on the throne of the observer, and every projection becomes irrelevant. Remain there long enough, and the world will still try to test you, but it will fail to touch you. Anchor this elevation into the field by declaring in the comments, I sit on the throne of the observer. Nothing external defines me, because the soul seated in its own awareness is untouchable, not because the world stopped attacking, but because it no longer needs to defend. Chapter 10. The Atlantean Shield, becoming the source. The highest form of protection is not a shield you build, it is a presence you become. The Atlanteans taught that when a soul truly remembers its nature, it stops repelling darkness, because darkness cannot exist in its proximity. It stops blocking envy, because envy dissolves before it reaches the field. It stops defending against projection, because projection has nowhere to land. This is the state of the awakened protector, the one who is the Atlantean Shield. At the beginning of your path, you needed techniques. You learned to seal your aura, to cut cords, to reflect projections, to transmute energy. But there comes a point when these are no longer tools. They are simply who you are. You don't do protection. You radiate sovereignty. Your field stops reacting and begins governing. You stop responding to the energy around you and begin shaping it. This is the final secret the temples reserved for the advanced initiates. Consciousness that radiates at a high enough frequency does not defend, it transforms. Just as light does not fight darkness, it simply shines and darkness ceases to exist, so too does a fully activated field render negativity irrelevant. It becomes a center of gravity, bending reality toward harmony and dissolving incoherence within its presence. Modern physics offers a glimpse of this in the principle of entrainment, the phenomenon where weaker frequencies synchronize with stronger ones. The Atlanteans knew this long before science measured it. They understood that if your vibration is coherent, radiant, and stable, any chaotic frequency that enters your orbit must either rise to match it or disintegrate. The shield then is not resistance, it is influence. This is why the most powerful protectors walk through the world without fear. They enter rooms charged with envy and leave them vibrating with calm. They speak softly, and the field around them recalibrates. They do not hide from density. They rewrite it with their presence. Their shield is not visible, but it is felt, a subtle, undeniable force that makes lower energies incompatible. You are meant to become that. Not just shielded, but sovereign. Not just defended, but radiant. Not just unaffected, but transformative. The Atlantean Shield is not a wall around you. It is a sun within you. And once it ignites, nothing dense can survive its light. From this moment forward, walk as that presence. Stop protecting your energy. Be the energy that needs no protection. Stop shrinking to avoid negativity. Expand so that negativity cannot exist near you. This is your birthright, your inheritance, your ancient technology awakening once more. Anchor this embodiment into the field now by declaring in the comments, "I am the Atlantean Shield. My presence transforms everything around me." Because the final initiation is not about becoming untouchable, it is about becoming unforgettable. Not because you fought the darkness, but because your light made it irrelevant. Final chapter, the Atlantean activation. Sealing the shield. If you are still here reading these words, it means something profound has already begun. This was never just a video. It was a transmission, a frequency designed to awaken an ancient intelligence buried deep within your soul. And now, that intelligence is no longer dormant. It's rising, expanding, reclaiming its rightful place as the sovereign guardian of your energy. You have walked through every gate of remembrance. You learned the true nature of human darkness and why it seeks your light. You understood the science of your electromagnetic field and how coherence is your first layer of defense. You mastered the mirror law, sealed the cracks in your aura, cut the cords that fed parasitic envy, and even learned to transmute what was meant to harm you into fuel for your evolution. You stood on the throne of the observer and remembered that nothing external has authority over your internal world. And now you are ready for the final step, not to protect yourself, but to become protection itself. The Atlantean priests taught that once the shield was fully activated, the initiate's field stopped being personal. It became a force that shaped reality wherever they walked. People felt calmer near them. Chaos softened around them. Even hostility lost its edge. Not because they were fighting it, but because their frequency made incoherence impossible. This is the state you are entering now. So close your eyes for a moment. Breathe slowly and deeply into your heart. With every inhale, feel your energy expand, a golden blue sphere radiating outward in every direction. With every exhale, feel that sphere solidify, intelligent, alive, luminous, impenetrable. This is your Atlantean shield. It is not a defense you summon. It is your natural state remembered. Now speak these words aloud or write them in the comments, not as a phrase but as a declaration to the universe. I am the Atlantean Shield. My energy is sovereign. My field is sealed. My light transforms everything it touches. Let it echo through your cells. Let it ripple across the quantum field. Let it become a beacon so strong that no envy, no projection, no shadow can even approach you without being transmuted into light. Because from this moment on, you are not reacting to darkness. You are rewriting the very fabric of reality around you. And know this, every time another soul writes these words, the collective shield of humanity grows stronger. Every time you anchor this frequency, you are not only protecting yourself, you are strengthening the grid that will one day make envy, hatred, and energetic violence obsolete. This is how civilizations shift. This is how light returns. You did not find this transmission. It found you, because you were ready to remember what you have always been. A guardian, a radiant field, a living embodiment of sovereign light. The Atlantean Shield is awake, and it lives inside you now.